Ho ho, hello there, sword friends. It was a lame intro, but I tried. This video is going to be an attempt at a holiday gift giver's guide for swords. Round about this time of year, I get asked for gift ideas or to help people decide what gifts to buy for their loved ones when they themselves don't know much about swords. And so I figured maybe I should make a video and put some ideas out there or some thoughts and ramble on about it as I do. So that's what this video is intended to do. If you're a typical viewer of my channel, I would appreciate, honestly, if you watch this video and throw in your commentary around what ideas you might have, because my list is certainly mine. It's just things that I might find interesting, and having a broader perspective could certainly be useful. So throw it in the comments if you think I missed anything or have anything to add. The first question I'll answer is, where does a person even go to buy a sword? I'd recommend cultivathena.com. It'll be linked in the description down below. In terms of websites, they're one that is available with a lot of selection, reasonable prices, reasonably reputable, and they didn't pay me. It's just a good spot to go to buy swords. So if that's all you were looking for, then there's that question. You can be on your merry way. The rest of you have to listen to me drone on for a really long time. On that note, I like to give caveats before I drone. Here's some of them. One, this is my personal list. Sword collecting is very personal, so do bear in mind this is just my list, and that's why I'm hoping people will chime in with other cool things that they might find interesting in the comments. So check down there. Also, this is going to be a little bit more US specific, or at least North America specific. Not that the ideas and things that I have might be not apply outside of the US or outside North America, but the prices, availability, timings, all that stuff might be different. Also, availability is going to be a little tricky. Some of the things that I'm going to mention are going to require you putting a picture in an envelope and saying, this is what's coming someday soon. It's too late to get some really custom, unique things, but they still might be what you want to get depending on your timing. So hopefully you know if you need to have something wrapped up and able to hand in person, or if waiting a little bit longer is okay. Anyway, research, I would say, is always encouraged. And so if you know what the person likes that you're buying for, what time periods, what history, what kind of swords, any of that kind of stuff can be very helpful in narrowing down the list so that you really hit the gift right on the head. Not the gift on the head, hit the nail on the head, that you get a really good gift. You know what I mean? All right, with that stuff out of the way, I'm going to break the video into two kind of sections. One is going to be some general categories of ideas, some spots that you can go look at on products or brands that I recommend that satiate an interest or need that might apply to the person that you care about and want to buy a sword related thing for. So that's going to be part one. I'll babble about that a little bit. And then part two, I'll go over some dollar, budget kind of ideas in terms of how much you want to spend and what cool options are available. And I'll try to give a few in there. And I'm hoping that the sword community out there also has some cool stuff in the comments for you to check out. The first category I'll throw out there is a custom katana. And by that, I mean you work with a vendor, you pick out from a list of different pieces. You get to pick the colors and the themes and things like that go into the katana, and it can make a present that's really cool, one that's bespoke and based on things that you know about that person, tells a story about that person that you think that person would really like. It can be a very cool gift. The downside is most of the deadlines to get these before the holidays have likely passed. So you're probably not going to be able to get one, but you might be able to provide a photo and say, here's the cool sword that's coming your way. I don't imagine too many sword friends will be disappointed by that. If you're looking for vendors that do it, the two that I've worked with personally and asked for some pretty weird stuff and been satisfied with have been Zsey Sword and Swords of Northshire. I've worked with both of them, had them make custom weird swords. I've been pretty happy with them. I think Zsey, your dollar goes a little bit further. They do some more stuff, but they can be a little bit harder to work with. Swords of Northshire tends to be a little bit easier to work with. They cost a little bit more. I find the product to be pretty equivalent, but I wouldn't understate the value of service. If you're not used to working with swords and talking about them all the time, then having somebody guide you through the process can be a very worthwhile thing to have. I've also worked with Ryansword and Hanban Forge. I haven't had custom swords made by them per se, but I have had swords from them. I've reviewed them. I found them to be pretty good products as well. So there are two other forges to work with. I know they offer customization services. I just haven't tried my hand at either of those customization services. Anyway, those are 4 forges that you can work with. I've evaluated all of them at some point on my channel, and I don't hesitate in recommending them. The next category I'll talk about is solidly built swords. And so if you know a person that wants to go and swing a katana in the backyard and just have fun with it, but isn't formally trained, may accidentally hit a branch, a stump, something like that, then these are reasonable swords for that. Those are going to be Ronin Dojo Pro. So Ronin Katana is the company, Dojo Pro is the model. I found those swords to be particularly resilient. Whatever one is available, they tend to be made of the same steel. There's just There's a lot of differences in theme on them. They're around about a $400 sword, and I found them to be very durable products. CloudHammer Steelworks is another vendor that's more new to the scene, but I've gotten a chance to test a number of them. They seem to be pretty durable products as well. Some of them are as cheap as 300 something bucks. They go quite a bit higher up than that, depending on what you want. But I've tested their S5 steel sword. It was around about a $500 sword when I tested it, and that was a very, very durable sword. So a little bit pricier, but at the same time, very durable. Another one is zombie tools, and these have a pretty long wait. So again, you're not likely going to be able to get one for the holiday season, but they are very, very durable swords. They have videos of them chopping car doors and stuff. Now, I've never pushed one to failure personally, but I have had a couple of different things from zombie tools. I found them to actually be more fun in the hand than they had any right to be, and they were certainly durable products. Swords made in America. So there are some swords that are made in the United States, and if that is an important facet to the person buying, do be aware that they tend to be a little bit more costly, but they're available. And there's, again, this is not an exclusive list. It's probably longer, and I'm probably forgetting some that I shouldn't. But anyway, Arms and Armor. They're made in my backyard here in Minnesota, and not my literal backyard, but they're made very close to me. I've gotten to go see them. They may have some stuff available. I'm not sure what their stock, or really what anyone's stock looks like for the holiday season, but I do know they had some stuff at a Renaissance Festival recently, so it's possible they've got some stock and some available options. Albion, they may very well be sold out. You may have to wait till after next Christmas to get one. I don't know how long their wait time is, but they're made in Wisconsin. That's available. Sterling Armory is another one. Chris makes them in Florida, I believe, but I can't remember if some are made in Utah. Anyway, point is that there is some Sterling Armory also makes stuff. They're made domestically. Zombie Tools as well, actually, is made domestically. But anyway, there are some swords made in the United States. Again, not an exclusive, or not a comprehensive list, I should say. There's probably a few more. Hopefully some folks fill in the gaps in the comments section. Swords that are excellent training tools. So if you're looking for a sharp, shiny sword that is really good for sword practice, then what comes to my mind, unfortunately, are ones that, again, are likely going to be a little bit out of stock. But Evolution Blades, Motohara, some of those can cost $2,000 to $5,000. They're not inexpensive swords, but they are absolutely excellent swords. Citadel is another one. They tend to be out of stock, though sometimes you can find some sparse stock in various distributors. Citadel also makes really excellent katana if you are practicing Japanese-style swordsmanship. I've enjoyed training with them as well. Another one is Huawei. It's I know it sounds like the phone company, but they also make swords. Different company. Or maybe not. I don't know. They make really good swords, though. The backlog to get one, though, is really quite a long time. I've also enjoyed training with the Zsey sword, but it's a little less forgiving if you're actually going to go out there and just cut stuff with it, unlike the previous brands that I mentioned. If an antique sword is what you're looking for, honestly, I'm not going to be a whole lot of help, but I can direct you to 3 websites. Again, not a comprehensive list. People will throw in the comments, I'm sure, down below some other options. But Nihonto.us, Ricecracker, and AOIR Japan are 3 websites that have come recommended to me in the past. I haven't bought anything from either of them. I have met the owner and proprietor of Nihonto.us a few times, gotten to play with this stuff at shows, or at least he's educated me about this stuff on shows, and he seems like a really trustworthy guy. So I wouldn't hesitate in recommending that, but at the same time, I haven't purchased anything there. As you might imagine, the cost can range. It can be really very, very expensive. I'd expect to spend on the low side a few $1,000s, though. Maybe you'll get lucky and there's something a little less expensive. Anyway, those are 3 sites that you can check out. All right, here are some sword-adjacent gift ideas. If you can't buy somebody a sword because you're not comfortable doing it, you can't financially afford it, understand. There are some sword-adjacent things that you might be able to pick out for somebody that is interested in swords. One main one is a stand or display of some kind. Sword collectors enjoy, generally, sharing their collection or displaying it, but often don't give it as much thought as the collection itself. And there are a lot of different cool displays that are out there at a lot of different prices. So those are some options to choose. They can be wall mounted, they can be set on a stand. You may even be able to make one yourself. Sometimes you can 3D print them. So there's a lot of different options for displays. I think that they're all cool. I enjoy and actually find use in just about any kind of display. Very often I do katana related things, but it always feels weird to like take photos of a European style sword sitting on a Japanese style stand. So anyway, I enjoy all the different types of stands that are out there, and I think they're a pretty good gift idea. Books are another solid option. I've enjoyed a number of the books that I've gotten as gifts over the holidays. Some of them are just picture books and things like that that show cool, sharp, shiny things. Others are very, very scholarly and made around topics that I find historically interesting. But there are a variety of different books out there. I don't have any specific recommendations for you, but I'm sure if you ask in the comments section, there's some folks that will chime in with some good options. Other options are cleaning kits. It's not very glamorous, but if you have somebody that has a sword collection that is rusting, then some cleaning options. I use Break-Free CLP, oftentimes Scotch-Brite Ultra Pads. It's not getting cleaning supplies isn't necessarily a great gift, but sword collectors have to unfortunately clean their stuff quite a bit. So having the right supplies or a different kind of supply or something to try out that may make that process easier is often an appreciated gift. Another option is knives, and this probably goes without saying. I know I said I'd talk about swords, but usually sword enthusiasts also enjoy nice knives, whether it be pocket knives or cooking knives, whatever it happens to be. A nice knife might be a little bit more in the budget, a little bit more practical, and I'll try to sprinkle some of them into the recommendations. Anyway, on with the recommendations. So first, below 25 bucks or round about 25 bucks, I have these wall hangers. As I mentioned, displays are an important facet. I've used these wall hangers in the past. It's $10 each, or they get cheaper the more of them you buy, but they display European cruciform style swords really well. If you have large disc guards, bulbous cross guards, if you have elaborate swept hilt rapiers, they don't display those particularly well, but cruciform style European swords, they hang on the wall like none other. They're non-obtrusive, they actually hold pretty tight, and they don't damage the swords. Overall, I find them to be very, very excellent ways to display swords. Another example here is woodworking from Enso Workshop. I have a stand from Enso Workshop that they sent me some time ago. I thought it was really, really cool. They offer some mounting options for 25 bucks. Now, you might be able to make something like this yourself. You could certainly buy something probably cheaper made out of particle board, but Enso Workshop uses real wood, and they do a good job, and they're, I believe, made in Ukraine. I'm not sure if they're still made there, but that's where they were made when I got them from them last time. Anyway, there's a few different options on this list from Enso Workshop. I think they're pretty cool. Generally speaking, I'd encourage you to check them out. All right, in the roundabout 50 category, I have another stand from Enso Workshop. Here you have a stand. It's nice and made of wood and shows some character. No surprise, I told you there'd be another one. Roundabout $50, a little bit over, is the cheapest sword on this list, and it's a $58 Musah Katana. Now, this was $50 when I reviewed it some time ago, but it is a real, sharp, functional sword, and it's about as cheap a katana as you can buy. But if you know somebody who wants a sword and is looking to get into collecting, this is a good option to get them. They can figure out what they like and don't like about it. They can get the dumb out of their system, swing it at a tree and bend it and break it, and it's not necessarily an enormous loss. Not that $58 isn't nothing, but it's also not thousands of dollars. So it gives somebody a chance to figure out what they like and don't like about it so they can make a more informed decision later. Arguably, I think this is just a fantastic gift in general. Even if you have really expensive swords, having an inexpensive one gives you the opportunity to experiment in a way that is liberating and that you wouldn't necessarily try with higher end things in your collection. People that are trying to learn to sharpen themselves, people that are trying to, trying to cut some stupid stuff, whatever it happens to be, there's some cool things that you feel a little bit more at liberty to do with a less expensive sword. So I think this is a cool one. All right, around about $100. Here I have a multi-rack stand from Enso Workshop. Again, showing out the displays. Enso Workshop isn't the only one, but I happen to see examples from them, and I know that I like them and that they work well. This is a multi-tier stand. The thing I want to point out here is that there's a few like cliche stands that are sold for $30 that every collector seems to have that holds swords. So having something a little different shaped, a little different, a little special is kind of a cool thing. And I haven't ever seen one in the wild from Enso Workshop, but I do think that they're special, unique, and cool. Many moons ago, I had sword racks behind me that I had made myself, and I had gotten a lot of comments about like, where did you get those, or how did you make them, and that kind of thing. Now I put how to make them actually in a different video, but unique stands are kind of a cool thing for a collector, and this holds a lot of swords. If you know somebody with a lot of swords and you have 76 bucks, it's a pretty solid idea. Another one is an Ichimonji Damascus knife. Now, Ichimonji Knives sent me recently to review some samples. I don't generally review a lot of kitchen knives, but I've got one now to review, and well, long and the short of it is I really like it. One of the examples has a Damascus pattern on it, which is just really, really cool looking. It's also very bold. So I enjoy it. It's around about $100. It's not a huge amount of money, but I think it's a good knife. It's very sharp. It's very pretty. It does all the things that you would hope a knife would do well. And I can imagine that somebody who's interested in swords and folded steel and all that kind of stuff that also cooks from time to time would enjoy having a knife like this. There are other examples out there of chef's knives that may be certainly more practical. There are other examples of more famous manufacturers, but the Ichimonji knives that were sent to me to review anyway, I really happen to like this one of the examples that were sent, and so I don't hesitate in recommending it. For $100, it seems pretty good. I typically use a Shun, which is a similar, but one of those larger manufacturers, or at least more commonly known, I guess I would say. And it's kind of a toss-up, honestly, in which one I like more. But as I'm spending more time with the Ichimonji one, I like the size of it a little bit more. Anyway, around about $100, very pretty knife. All right, the next one is breaking the budget a little bit around the $100 category, given that it's $140, and it's a Ronin RK series katana. Of the $130 swords that I've reviewed, or in that ballpark, I've really liked the Ronin RK swords. They generally tend to fit reasonably well for the money. I think the hamons are pretty. They're differentially heat treated as opposed to through hardened, which doesn't give the same artistic kind of that wavy pattern on the edge of the blade. So they have the kind of quintessential pieces of a Japanese style sword to say that they're a katana, if you will. Having the hamon is an important thing sometimes. Anyway, I think they're a nice sword. For $140, I don't hesitate in recommending them. They're relatively inexpensive, but they still offer a lot of nice stuff. There's a lot more that's nice about this than the $60 one. So if you got a little bit more money, this is still relatively inexpensive for a sword, but offers a lot more options, a lot better build quality than the $60 one. All right, stepping up to the next echelon of tier, say around $300 to $400. First is the Lance Connect Emporium Gustav. Now, I know I've talked a lot about katanas up to this point, but there are other swords that exist too. The Lance Connect Emporium Gustav or the Lance Connect Emporium Gunther. Both are about the same $270 right now, at least with the current exchange rate. I don't know that you'd be able to get one before holidays, but I think they're an absolutely awesome sword. And they cross, at least the Gustav does, between knife and sword. And so if you have a knife enthusiast, they may also like it. Anyway, I think that that's a really cool sword at its base model for $270. The next one I can talk about is one I actually have in my hand at the moment, and that is a DarkSword Armory Dagger. Now, these are $250 and up, but I think they're cool. They're just little mini swords, and they have the same kind of dagger mountings. If you know somebody that has a Renaissance garb or something like that, these are things that I think would fit right in. Stylistically, I think they're very cool. They fit on pretty well. They feel nice in the hand, and they're at a budget that a person might appreciate. Next up is one of my favorite swords, the Hanwei Practical XL. Now, I've provided a link here to Cult of Athena where you can get one. You can buy one from another website if Cult of Athena isn't your jam. But the Practical XL, I think, is one of the least expensive and most fun cutting swords out there. If you're a backyard cutter, it's a very durable sword. It also does a lot of work for you. It's one of the least expensive kind of wide body swords that are just, made to cut tatami mats and green bamboo and that kind of stuff pretty well. So I've really enjoyed cutting with it. It's one of the least expensive, excellent cutting swords out there that I've played with. At $395, or maybe a little bit more if you buy it from Cult of Athena, but then you don't have to pay for shipping. Anyway, around about the $400-ish something is the Hanwei Magnificent Chu Jian. It's the only Chinese sword on my list right now, but it's an excellent sword. I really enjoy it. Out of the many swords that LK Chen has sent my way to play with and test, I really have enjoyed the Magnificent Chu Jian. I'm not necessarily a big Chinese swordsmanship guy or Chinese sword guy, but I certainly love that sword. I think it's an excellent sword. I think it's beautiful. I like the way it moves. There's just a lot to appreciate about it, and so no hesitation in recommending that one. Moving up the list, around about $500 is the Ronin Warsword No. 2. This is kind of their replica of the Alexandria Arsenal Type 18C sword. It's basically a big, wide, scary-looking, imposing sword, and I think it's awesome because it's a functional version of like the sword from Sword in the Stone. So if you know somebody who wants a big, wide, imposing, scary-looking sword, for $500, you get a lot of really nice sword here, and I've enjoyed reviewing it. I've talked about it a number of times on my channel, but I have no hesitation in saying this is a cool one that I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy. For $475, there's something from the Art of Fire and Iron, one that I'm working on a review on, but something that I really do enjoy. It's less imposing than the Warsword number 2 from Ronin Katana, but a little bit more nimble in the hand. So if you have a HEMA practitioner that wants to cut, this has been a fun one, and I think will be an interesting contender on the market once I get the review out and once they make more of them. Anyway, it's a very compelling sword. I've enjoyed it, and it's from the Art of Iron and Fire. All right, for $459, this is a sword from Ryansword, and I don't know how many like it are out there. They may only have one, but it's a Sanmai, which means it's folded and laminated and got some cool characteristics, and it also has Horimono in it. It's got a dragon kind of engraved on the side of it, and it looks reasonably well done given the price point. Now, if you get something that's worth thousands of dollars, obviously it's going to be more elaborate, but there's a lot of cool little features in this one. I think it's a very feature-rich sword, and so that's why I threw it up there. But Ryansword has a few different options that are out there. This one is reminiscent of the one that I reviewed some time ago, that with the folding and kind of the activity on the blade that I thought was appealing. But this one also has the Horimono, which is, I don't know, just kind of a cool thing that not a lot of sword collectors get. It's not something that people typically splurge for, but it's something that's easy to appreciate aesthetically. They don't necessarily, they get damaged, they're hard to clean, so bear that in mind. If this is a sword that somebody's going to use a lot, Horimono may not be exactly what they're after, but if they're not, and it's a display piece, then it certainly, it's hard to do, and I find it very beautiful. The other one I'll throw out there is something from CloudHammer. Now, I've just put a link here to the website that you can go to buy one. They $500 and up will likely get you something there, but they range. They can be $300 to $1,000. There's a lot of variety in terms of what's out there, and there's not necessarily a certain bespoke model that's always in stock. So depending on what you like, but I have, as I recommended them earlier, I find them to be pretty durable, pretty nice swords. I've gotten a few samples now, and again, I don't have a whole lot of hesitation in saying the sword that you get will be durable and reasonably well made. Now, for folks that have a little bit more money to spend, Zsey is something worth considering. I have reviewed a sword from them recently. It was among their lower end offerings, and it was $900, and they have swords that are thousands of dollars. Now, what I can say is that they are pretty. They feel really nice in the hand. If you know somebody who practices swordsmanship and does iaido, draws it and sheathes it a lot but doesn't cut anything, I think they're really good for that. They're excellent as a display. There's beautiful polish and artistry and things like that happening in the sword, but they're not particularly durable or forgiving. So if you know somebody that's going to go in the backyard and cut stuff with it, it wouldn't be my first recommendation there. But they have some very beautiful swords, and I'd encourage you to take a look there. If you're looking for something that is a little bit more on the durable side and a little bit more geared towards Japanese-style swordsmanship, I mentioned them before, but Motohara or Evolution blades, it's not hard to spend $5,000 on a sword from Evolution blades, but they are absolutely excellent training tools. It's difficult to think of something that's better, and I'm sure any Japanese swordsmanship practitioner would be really happy to get one. Well, I don't know about every one of them, but most of them, I would say, would be very happy to get one. All right, the last one that I've got is Sterling Armory. So if you know somebody that goes to a Renfest, has a particular garb they want to wear, then Sterling Armory is a reasonable one to do. I played with the sharp ones, and I just had a lot of fun with the items from Sterling Armory. So I have no hesitation in recommending them as well. Anyway, that's all I've got. Hopefully this has been an interesting video. Send it along if you think if I covered most of the things, if you think it'd be a helpful gift guide to somebody who might want to get you a sword for the holidays. If you think I got anything wrong or you have something to add, throw it in the commentary down below. Anyway, that's all I've got for you. Cheers, and thanks for watching.